Hey everybody, thank you yet again for listening to another episode of Ordinary People Extraordinary Stories. We have a brand new subscriber by my man, Richie. Thank you very much, Richie. I appreciate your support. We also want to go ahead and thank Courtney, as well as Tamsin and Aiden. Give you guys all a shout out for supporting the channel. If you guys are interested in also supporting the channel, feel free to click the link below in the description to our Patreon, where you will have access to additional episodes, extra episodes, and extra bits from the show that we don't put on our Spotify and our YouTube channels. Now, with that being said, I'm going to start talking, and you're going to start listening to the next episode. Here we go.
Baton Hut, Eyes Front. Thank you for listening to another episode of Ordinary People Extraordinary Stories. My name is Staff Sergeant Tristan Storman, and today we have another episode here for you. You will be excited about it, you will listen to it, and above all else, you will share this episode with your friends and family to increase the audience and support this podcast. Now, that being said, at ease. Today's episode is about my Marine friend Israel Doering. Israel is a very talented individual with a knack for drawing at a young age. Israel always found himself as a talented and knowledgeable individual growing up. After his service in the Marines for 5 years, Israel came to a crossroads. He went back to school and got multiple degrees, did not know what his next steps in life were. He did what all men of ambition do and looked within. Israel decided he wanted to put his creative endeavors to work, wrote out an entire universe and started creating an actual board game. It's called A Hero's Journey Through Phobos. It's to teach those who are unfamiliar with pen and paper style games, like Dungeons and Dragons, but way cooler. In this episode, we talk about his creative process and his time in the service, that will all you to pay extra special detail to this episode. Now, without further ado, I don't want you to drop and give me 20. I want your undivided attention. I want it about face for another ordinary person with an extraordinary story. Hoorah! Semper Fi!
I'm going to edit this out probably, just to be clear. If you need something edited or in hindsight you're like, hey, probably shouldn't have that there, let me know. We can remove it.
I got you.
Don't be afraid.
I'll try and just watch my words.
Don't be afraid to give an answer like you think I want to hear. Like, I want to hear your genuine, honest answer.
Yeah.
And if we need a timeout, take a potty break, just let me know again. We can edit stuff. Oh, and I'll warn you, I'm going to say I'm going to edit things out and I end up keeping it in. So this entire conversation will happen. I might just
yeah.
I gotcha.
It takes actual work.
There you go.
And then how long do you think this is going to be? Hour and a half, hour?
That depends on you, baby.
Okay.
That depends on how, because some people like to, I guess my only critique with you, and people are kind of getting behind the scenes about it, is just give me detail, but just remember, like, you have certain things you can say detail-wise. If you detail everything, we're not going to get past the first story.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah.
Okay. I usually start with a dumb bullshit conversation. Condorman. That's why I shut you down, because I wanted to talk about Condorman. So
do I. Condorman's awesome.
Okay, so that's the thing. So hi everybody. Welcome to another episode of Ordinary People Extraordinary Stories. This is Tristan. This is a extraordinary story episode for sure, but this is also like, because you don't want me to let them know anything about our work situation, right? It's
not the most interesting, and it's the only thing that could possibly get me in trouble. So there's just, why do it?
We work in the same area.
I agree. Yeah.
I eat at a lunch place, and this is a guy I see kind of on the regular.
Yeah.
And I met.
We know each other.
Yeah,
work friendly.
But even just how I met you, man. It was just crazy because like I kind of knew you like ooze personality when I saw you like doodling.
Mm.
Like if you guys can imagine though, just like he was just like I mean, he was really like you can tell he was like lost in thought. And I was like, okay, he's either writing really good notes or you're doodling. And I go over there and I just see like you just drawing like knives and skulls that says like "die, bitch." Just just I was like, I was, okay, all right. That was I'm just kidding. But you had some cool, crazy features, and the more I got to talk to this guy, the more I was like, oh man, this guy's got not only depth, but like is just a kind of general fun, a badass kind of dude, and I'm excited to for you guys to hear his story. But before we talk about that, we're going to talk about Condorman. So,
Awesome. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
like, forgot your name, Israel.
Israel. Yeah,
Let's
Israel.
introduce Israel. Say hi to the audience. Say
Hello, audience. My name is
hello,
Israel, like the country. Yes.
like the yes, the big Izzy.
Yeah. iDog.
I like that. I don't know. I want to make a topical joke about Israel, but like just gonna piss somebody off, so we're just gonna move on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's
It's a,
gonna drive
yeah.
right past that car wreck. Okay, there we
Yeah,
go. All
yeah,
right.
that's yeah, then there's a lot of things that are just potentially a can of worms.
Oh my God, it's fun when you try to have a cast and actively not get canceled. But
Yeah.
Condor Man, that's what we want to. That's fucking Condor Man.
Yeah, Condorman's awesome. It's a Disney movie. It's very safe.
Oh, this doesn't, dude. This looks like a made for TV. Like, we only had so much money,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like a movie of the like. Okay, so guys, if you're interested, so you is Israel, you carry away. Explain what Condor Man is and the year, and also I think you mentioned who made it. It was Disney. Like
Yeah. So it's early 80s. Like I forget the actual year, but I'm sure you could, look at the internet.
81,
Yeah,
81. Oh my
81. So
God,
yeah, early
please.
80s. And what it is basically a guy that he draws comic books and he has a character called Condor Man. He tries to make a suit and yeah, it's just very cinematic, doesn't really work. His like relative needs him to be the handoff man for the CIA because they need a civilian. And then after the initial handoff, the other people like him and they want him to do the second part of the handoff. And to do that, he wants all of his Condor Man designs to be made real. So he makes like a car that turns into a boat and all these other gadgets that he dreamed of. And it gets pretty interesting. It's a pretty good action movie,
It's
and it's all
like
Disney.
it.
Yeah,
It just sounds like a very silly Batman.
yeah,
Like, but not even like okay. Instead of Batman being like a crazy detective or like just like I'm vengeance. I'm a
yep.
defender of the night. This guy's just like I want to. I'm weird.
Yeah,
I want to just do my inventions and like I want to know more. I want Condor Man to be a part of the MCU
me too.
because technically he can be like
Yeah,
freaking
because you
A,
figure in
dude.
context, it was like he had 66 Batman with the bam, whap, pow, and Tim Burton's dark, gritty Batman hadn't come out yet. So in 81, this was like the only follow up to that Batman campy
Oh my
Robin.
God.
So this is a little more grounded.
Do you think this got buried because of did
Yeah.
Batman come out in 1981?
No, it came out after that, like
Okay. Oh yeah,
84,
89. Oh
86,
yeah,
89. Yeah,
other
89.
end of the
Yeah.
era. But man, that's just it looks fun. It looks very silly. I also can totally see why Disney's like no one's going to fucking this is
Yeah.
like the three people watched it and one of them didn't like it. Like that's a third of the
Exactly.
audience.
But there's a Condorman car chase, and that's man, they have all these like it's a high speed car and there's explosions, it has missile rockets on it and all
Okay.
these other
All right.
gadgets. So if you're a kid at the time, you're just like, this is awesome. I
You know
mean, I was
what?
3 years old when it came out. I mean, I was born in the late 70s,
Oh
so
my
this was
God.
right at my speed for a kid. There's nothing else out.
Oh, well, to be fair, just to give you context, one of my favorite movies of all time is The Blues Brothers. So I do not have anything
Oh
against like
yeah,
older flicks.
nice.
I love me a, which oh yeah, okay, so it came out in damn, that came in right in
You just had
1980, right
Superman
the
2 in 1980. So Superman 2 was the only other real superhero movie in anybody's conscience. And
right.
then Condor Man comes out, Disney's answer to Superman of a more grounded hero. It's like in context wise, you got to sort of like take it for what it was too.
Yeah, because I mean, like I'm putting it under that lens of just like, hey, I like the groundedness of it. I like that this isn't
Yeah,
alien from another planet. This wasn't a guy who was given a magic ring and say, hey, say this weird Boy Scout
yeah.
oath and you can do
And
anything. This is a guy in it looks like rain boots and leggings
yeah,
with a hand glider that's
he's getting
painted
ready
like
to jump
wings.
off the Eiffel Tower in the very on one of the posters because that's like the first scene where he's just in Paris jumping off.
Oh my
It's one of the
God.
big crane shots where they zoom out and you see him. He's actually up there.
I'm just imagining if this like picked up like it's I don't know, like and the Oscar goes to Condorman. Like
Exactly. I would love it. Because, man, this movie is like, yeah, it had a lot of potential. It was just, because, like, in his thing, like, as the comic book writer, he's like, no, my readers will know if it wouldn't work in real life. I got to make sure. So, like, the whole movie is trying to be quote unquote grounded. So he's like, what if I had a CIA budget instead of Batman? What if it was a CIA budget? What if I had them? Sort of like James Bond. He has his own Q making gadgets for him, and that's what the third act of the movie is all the gadgets they built for him to actually be Condor Man.
which
So
I
they,
mean I'm excited
yeah,
to check it out because I mean it I
that's
do
a secret agent
appreciate
handle.
that kind of like Chitty Chitty Bang Bang is such a weird
Yeah,
fuck it's such a weird movie. Like it's obnoxiously dark like when you really think about it. Like I was rewatching clips and I was seeing like the child catcher and I'm just like
hmm
God, it just this entire village. Just like there's this one really kind of fruity, kind of just like "Meh," but just like
yeah,
he's really flamboyant, but he legitimately takes maybe kills the children, eats them. He just everyone's kids. No one's safe. It's a
yeah.
big old comical. uh,
Just dark.
yeah, and then you got this. I kind of want to go down the rabbit hole of like I don't want to say bad Disney movies. I want to just say old kind of just out there weird Disney movies before they're like saying, "Hey, we need to make everything squeaky clean and like
Yeah,
and
they
not
did have
enjoyable
quite
by
a
it."
few. They were just I don't know the what was it? The Journey to Witch Mountain, the original
Okay, okay,
one.
tell me why I'm just looking at that. Okay, so yeah, exactly.
That was always a weird one, even when I was a kid trying to watch it. I'm like, I don't what?
Dude,
It's just like,
you got Christopher Lee in here. That's
yeah.
okay. That's how I'm like, okay. And so good, bad, or somewhere in the middle.
Well, it was like it was almost like, and when you're watching it, like, is it an alien space crash? Is that what's on the mountain? Is it a witch? Is it so like they don't sort of really know as they're going, if I remember it right.
Ooh, like it's like that's
Yeah,
the that's
but
the
yeah,
mystery.
it wasn't. It was one of those movies that like everybody watched, but no one really. It was no one's like top 10,
That's
but
funny.
everybody
Like
had
we all
seen it.
just like collectively blacked out on the movie.
Like, yeah, it was. Yeah, that's a thing. I remember that being a thing.
So no, it's crazy because like I mean, okay. I'm gonna put a pin in it. Mildly curious. Want to shout out to the
Mhm.
patrons. If we're actually, I'm thinking of new episode ideas though, and I kind of people have been recommending me a lot of movies to watch, and I also love tearing movies to shreds. So let's chat. If this is a good time, I wouldn't mind maybe let's do a Condor Man episode, or let's watch a really awful Disney movie and try to find something good about it, or at least talk about how like gnarly it looks. But mildly interested.
Yeah, or you could do
Okay.
the original Journey to Witch Mountain and then the rock version. So the
Ooh.
75 and the 2009 version.
Yeah, I was thinking because I don't think I've even seen that version. So it's
Nope,
funny.
I didn't
I'm
either.
getting
I
two.
skipped
Like
it.
I'm actually gonna start asking because I don't think I know a single person that's actually seen that movie. Like that
Yeah,
was so forgettable.
I saw clips and memes of it, but I never actually watched it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, that stupid final like rock
Yep,
turning around thing like that's
yep,
burned in my mind
exactly.
forever. Never saw the
Yep,
movie.
that's how you know the movie is from that meme.
Oh my God. That's oh fucking A, dude. Okay, well, hey,
So yeah, now I might have a reason to watch it.
back to Ope's podcast. Yeah, no, I mean clearly. I this guy, I just met you, dude,
Yeah.
and I mean just your story. I mean, I don't know if you guys know, I'm just gonna give a shout out. My man was in the military, he was in Marines, taught people how
Woohoo,
to
bro.
fire mortars, like that's what they're
Yeah,
yeah.
mortars. I was a mortarman for the 5 years.
Mortarman for the 5 frickin' years. blowing shit up. Well, actually teaching people to blow shit up.
Yeah. I
And
was a squad
then
leader, so I had 12 guys underneath me for 2 of the years roughly.
did you take them out to dinner first before they were,
No, no,
you
no.
know?
They just if they messed up anywhere in that 24 hours, 7 days a week, I was
Mhm.
the person that got yelled at for, hey, why did they do that? You're like, I don't. They're 18.
That's hilarious.
That's
Like
why.
they're chill. That's,
Like I
that's,
don't. Yeah.
but
They're.
so my military man here,
Mhm.
interesting experience. I have lunch slash may work in the same area with this gentleman, and I found out through his doodling he's also making a role playing game. I think it was a card game too, right? Like a kind of
Yeah.
cardboard physical.
Trying to be a card game. Trying to be as simple as possible, and yeah, just trying to make it basic. So card game is trying to be the most basic version.
We'll say card game.
Yeah.
And this is just somebody at one day I walked up to and said, "Hey, what's up?" And let's have some lunch. Let's get Rubens. Do you like Rubens? Do
Yeah,
you
Rubens are great. Yeah, let's go
Reuben,
get a Reuben.
bro, like I was waiting for someone to say that to me. Like,
Yeah,
let's go.
Reuben time.
This is Israel, and thanks for coming on the show, man.
Yeah,
This is exciting what we're gonna chat about.
yeah. Glad to be here. Appreciate the
So,
invite.
I mean, let's talk about. I think I want to talk more about art with you. I want to
Okay.
talk more about like kind of like your nerdy stuff. I mean,
Yeah,
and I also want to talk about collecting because I'm
yeah,
now realizing how much of a flipper you are because we talk about like 5 different times where you're like, hey, I bought this
yeah.
seemingly thing and split a good profit off of it. What do you want to go with first? Artistry or
I
flipping
mean, they're all
collector
rabbit
stuff?
holes. So,
Yeah,
flipping stuff's probably one of the shorter ones. I mean, yeah, I've always tended to do bare minimum to get by, but always seem to be able to get by with however it is, like unemployment or just work 6 months, take unemployment for 6 months, and just do that cycle for a couple of years. And it's like, how are
hey,
you not struggling to eat? I'm like, no, don't you? Everybody has that option to get unemployment for 6 months if you worked, you pay into it. I mean, you know that's part of your paycheck, right? That you would be getting. It goes into
that service. Well, I was going to ask you that.
unemployment
So, is
insurance.
that what you do after the trying to think what I want to call it, the our peak week, our peak season?
No, I went full time. So during the pandemic, they called me and said, "Do you want to be full time?" I said, "Sure." And they're like, "Do you want to come in and telework?" I was like, "No." They're like, "All right, well, we'll pay you weather and safety leave." So I got paid until they decided to have people come into the office. So for 6 months, I got promoted and paid, but
Damn,
didn't work.
that's fat.
It's really nice.
That was fat,
So
my
that's when
guy.
I
Okay.
started trying to teach myself something useful, such as quantum mechanics, at least the basic understanding of it, and then wanted to create something like my board game. So I'd had some ideas in the future, and around a month or so into the pandemic, around April,
Mhm.
May, that's when I started actually trying to do something with my days instead of just wait to be called back to work eventually.
Yeah, which I think
Yeah.
maybe what kind of drew me a little bit to you because that's promising. Like I want to improve myself, and
Yeah.
I mean, clearly, I'm seeing it in your stories about being the mortarman and kind of like,
Yeah.
hey, like let's let's learn this, that, and every new thing. But okay, then let's go to artistry then. So, I mean,
Yeah.
you have, and guys, we're gonna show pictures on the Facebook group. Maybe I'll have some in an Instagram post, but be on the lookout. My guys, if you feel comfortable, I wouldn't
Yeah.
mind sharing certain pics that look amazing. And the best part is this guy is always at drawing new things. I think, and we'll talk about your game later in the
Yeah.
episode, but did you ever keep working on that tooth kind of phobia?
No, not I haven't gone back to that sketch yet.
I'm gonna be excited when you do because I think
Yeah.
I don't know like that's so fascinating that you're
Yeah.
constantly be bettering yourself, but like not just a classic like oh I worked out. No, I got smarter. I made more money, but I also got into my art and hobby. That's
Yeah.
have you
Yeah.
always kind of been an artist? I guess you'd say.
Yeah. I mean, I'm only child, so as an only child, you don't have brothers and sisters, and a lot of times you got to entertain yourself.
Yeah.
So reading and drawing was a thing I could do a lot. So by eighth grade, I had a sophomore in college reading comprehension and vocabulary,
Hmm.
like according to tests, and I learned to draw pretty good. But a lot of it was just self-taught. So started at 8 and kept drawing until then. So
Well, I mean, how? Okay, so eight. So what cartoon or what was on that you were kind of like, hey, I want to. What did you practice on? Did you make bunnies? Did you make houses?
no, I saw bodybuilding and I was like, hey, that's how muscles look. So I thought that's just what muscles looked at 8. So I went and bought a Flex magazine and started trying to draw bodybuilders. And I have all my old sketch pads, so I have the original sketch pads of me trying to draw bodybuilders as if they were superheroes, not
Hmm.
realizing that's not what normal pecs look like. That's an outlier.
That's funny, but you're like you didn't know that until the time we were just like drawing, just like wow, like this
Yeah.
mad Jack, just like that's
So I tried that for a month or two, and then I tried to get some other. I mean, I had some other like learn how to draw cartoon, like basic. Here's a ball. Here's how to shade it. Like intro to drawing books that I was provided to, but very clearly I remember getting, a couple dollars for a magazine and walking 2 blocks to the grocery store to buy a Flex magazine and walking back and drawing on the bed, trying to recreate what I was seeing on the pages. So,
did like your parents ever notice this or be like kind of comment like, wow, you're really good or you're really good at detail, like
yeah, it's as an only child, you usually everything you do is magic. So I was encouraged, and if I was ever punished, it was usually like, "Hey, go to your room and don't play your video game." But they'd never tell me not to read or tell me not to draw. So it was a weird punishment, like go to your room and
learn.
read or draw for 4 hours. Like, okay, I'd almost be doing that anyways if we hadn't just had whatever happened that made me get in trouble. Oh, fine, I'm gonna go read and draw like I wanted to anyways.
Fine. Well, that's
So
that's that's funny to think about because like it's I've always and I'm not diagnosing anybody, but
yeah,
like I found so my nephew has ADHD. I have ADHD. I take medication for it, but just like find that sometimes our minds can race,
yeah,
or it's like we can be distracted, but it's like if we can like cultivate like a constant need to like learn some either learning new things or trying new things though it's like it we become kind of better well-rounded people. They say we need to sit down and apply ourselves, but in reality we can like jumpstart all these like kind of crazy aspects or like these different things in our life. And it sounds really like not only have you been doing that your entire life, but you've been doing it successfully, which
yeah,
is, I guess,
yeah.
I
I
don't know if that's a
try.
testament to your luck or your testament to your skill or your will or your character, but fucking A,
Well,
man. It's
it's
cool.
like when I hear people that are in their 30s bragging about how they've never read a book after high school. I'm like, that's not a good thing. It's like I've never
Yeah.
ate a vegetable. I've never jogged a block. Like those
That's
aren't
not something to
those
be
aren't
proud of.
brags. Those are things to be sort of almost ashamed of. Like I've never actually picked up a book and read. Like
That's
there's a saying
hilarious.
like
Humble brag.
somebody that's refuses to read has no advantage over somebody that's illiterate and can't read.
Mhm.
Like yeah, I mean you might have access to all the libraries in the world, but if you don't read, you're just as poor as somebody that can't read.
It, it's I mean, what man? I'm trying to figure out if that's the episode or not. But
Yeah.
it's
Ever heard of amphistasia?
no. I
It's
want to say you is that was that the yeah I have actually. That's the
yeah.
movie with Mickey Mouse as the wizard and
No, that's
the
Fantasia. But I think it's aphantasia. Aphantasia, I'm not exactly sure. I'm horrible in pronouncing words.
aphantasia. I'm looking. It's when your brain doesn't form or use mental images as part of your thinking or imagination.
So there's a test you can do, and it's basically visualize an apple, and
Okay.
then based on what you see. So some people can't visualize an apple. Some people just visualize a black silhouette of an apple. Some
Mm,
visualize an apple that has color like red, yellow, green. Some visualize red, yellow, green apple on a table with sunbeams hitting it and with a light behind it with a
interesting.
on a
Okay.
table with a window. Like they
Yeah.
envision like where it's at in reality.
Mm,
So depending on where you're at on being able to imagine things in your mind,
mm,
it gets way harder to draw or
Yeah.
create. So for
Yeah,
me, I'm
yeah.
on the low end, but I didn't realize that until my 40s when I would spend all this time trying to get better at doing parts of art
Hmm.
that really take you visualizing something in your head. Because, like, I've always tried to draw without looking at a reference
Yeah.
and found it almost impossibly hard, where some people are able to do it. And I didn't realize there's this freaking thing called harvesters. That means that you just don't have that ability, and other people do have that ability. And you're like, oh, I'm trying to do a thing that I'm trying to be ambidextrous, and I'm missing an arm.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't be ambidextrous with one arm. So,
So, I mean, did you kind of growing up, did you kind of have that kind of stigma where people were like, well, why can't you just do it? And you felt like something was
no,
wrong with you or something, or?
it's just for how many hundreds and thousands of hours I spend drawing.
Hmm.
I should be better. Like,
Hmm.
I'm pretty good, but I should be way better for how much time and effort I put in. And yeah, and I think it's part of it is I just really can't visualize in my mind like other people can. If I get really good, I can get like a human body and I can rotate that in 360, like arms and faces and torsos,
Hmm.
but I can't like put clothing on it or put armor or weapons or anything. I like
Mm.
trying to visualize other things on it. So like most of my drawings are just like heads and shoulders because that's all I can visualize without looking at a picture for a reference.
Mm.
So just out of my head, it's like a little bit of a doodle. It'll be weird things, but it's just what I don't have to look at other sources for. But if I look at other pictures, I can
Mhm.
draw anything I want, and my drawing ramps up like three or four, skill levels of quality for
See,
everything because
it's
I don't
funny
have
you
to.
point that out, but I'm also it's hard to check which ones because some of these are. So, have you ever did any color of?
Yeah,
Tell
yeah.
me which ones were in color because I'm in
Let
the,
me
the
see.
the share folder. And folks, we're gonna have his whatever you're comfortable sharing. We're gonna
Yeah,
have
you can
his
share
art
all of it.
here, and you guys can say if my boy. Because I mean, this is still impressive. Like I get what you're
Yeah.
saying, but I still think this is nothing to sneeze at, my guy.
No,
Like,
I agree. But I mean, I have like the base drawings, and then I'd send it to other people to punch up the drawing. And then based on my techniques or what I was actually trying to get across, they would maybe rotate it or add more details.
let's
And then
talk
I'd generally
about
send that to somebody to color.
the child and demon picture. Are all of
Yeah.
these colored by other people, or
Yeah. I didn't color any of those.
damn? I will say, love the design though. Love. Now I'm kind of seeing a bit more of like how you're drawing your monsters. I'm getting kind of almost like a Bleach vibe to it, because isn't it kind of
Yeah.
almost in the same? Isn't like the whole point of Bleach is that they're like samurai that are fighting like demons or monsters in purgatory. They're coming into reality.
Yeah. It's basically like they're trying to like purge souls that are, not crossing over or something like that.
Okay. I don't know. The designs are sick, and I'm kind of with you there too, because the moment someone tells you about a reference, you go to that reference, and then it's hard to like make something because you're like, okay, was that my original thought, or
Yeah.
did I absorb something through osmosis because I saw this thing, and now it doesn't feel like I technically, I did that, or did I copy it?
Yeah. So like that child with demon,
Yeah.
I was thinking of Men in Black.
You know what? I can. It's funny. I think you actually
So
have told me that because like
when he's
I
doing the
see this.
testing, he's like, "Why'd you shoot that little girl?" It's like that book's way too advanced for her. So, hey, this is what would have happened if Will Smith didn't shoot that girl in that scenario in 30 more seconds. She would have summoned some crazy
Horrible
demon.
otherworldly being.
Yeah,
So
so in my head, I always call this Little Tiffany because that's why did Little Tiffany have to die?
I love
For him
why
to.
does that-
It's like, well, this is why.
So what you're saying is we're pro shooting children as long as they have an
Hey, if they're
evil.
reading advanced books,
Okay, all
it's way
right.
too advanced.
That kind of completely takes our argument before and just the complete opposite of
Yeah.
just like, you know what? Don't let your kids read too much. There's a fine line
Yeah, yeah.
between learning how to draw and summoning demons
Not
from
a
other
scary
dimension.
amount, yeah. Healthy amount.
Oh my God. Okay, I don't know. I hear what you're saying. We can always be better. I mean, can I
Yeah.
respectfully say I it's too early in the cast, but are you having a good time? I know
Yeah,
the answer is
definitely.
yes.
Yeah.
You're laughing a lot. That's how I know you're having. I'm like I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Do you think I would be self-conscious in this, or do you think I could do better
No,
in this?
think you're
You don't
good.
think so?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, I do have those thoughts. And sometimes I feel like you need to tell your brain to shut the hell up and be like,
Yeah.
this is fucking badass. Like, because you are an artist. So have you ever had those like doubting? I mean, maybe that's what you were
Yeah.
vocalizing. The whole like, is this good enough? Am I worth it? Like,
You just got to think like everybody's their own biggest fan, but they're their own worst critic. So
exactly.
you just got to figure out. I mean, it's the
That
Indian
balance
saying of,
too.
"Hey, you get two wolves. Which one gets bigger?" It's like, well, which one do you feed?
Hmm.
So do you want to
Yeah.
feed the negative thoughts or do you want to feed the positive thoughts? So it's easy to do negative thoughts. I mean, everybody walking by can point out the negative things.
Yeah.
That's easy. It's pointing out the positive things and trying to remotivate yourself daily. That's the hard part. So yeah, it's not easy.
No, I think that might even be. Ah man, I'm definitely clipping that. That
Yeah,
was deep. I have heard about that, but I've also seen like people take that saying and also like do a dumb meme out of it. Like now we're back
yeah,
to memes again. Oh my God.
yeah, yeah.
It's like
Memes are good to communicate.
you have two wolves inside you. Both of those wolves are gay. You are gay.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah. But it's just like wherever you put your time. Like, because if you think about it, you have 8 hours of work, hour probably getting there and back. That's 10 hours.
yeah.
You have 8 hours of sleep. That's 18. You have 6 hours for what? Like, there's only so much time. And if you're going to go watch trash and put 4 hours of trash in your mind, like, what do you expect? I mean,
Yeah.
so yeah, you only have so much time, and what you feed your mind is what's going to help. So that's yeah, it can be hard to. I mean, I think of like when I'm reading books, I try and read a junk food book, something I just want to read for fun, and then I try and read a book
Make it grow
that almost feels like
the
schoolwork.
next one. Okay.
Yeah, like hey, this is like important. I'm reading one called the Bin Laden Papers.
Okay.
It's talking about when they did the raid to get Bin Laden, the Abad raid.
Yeah.
Basically, all the paperwork they got from that raid, and somebody compiled it to try and figure out what they actually knew and what they were doing at the time,
Hmm.
and to basically figure out what happened before 9/11 and after it, based on all of Bin Laden's paperwork they recovered.
So
Pretty interesting, but yeah, it's
I oh
not
well, man, because
comic
damn it,
books.
so you gotta be careful with that, man. Because I'm just like I could totally talk about Bin Laden papers, like
Yeah,
just
exactly. So just saying, like, there's fun stuff, and then there's I got it. Can't just read junk food and can't just eat candy bars all day. Gotta have some vegetables. So that's
at
my
least
vegetable book.
which I respect that, and I don't mean to sound controversial. I don't mean to be an ageist, but would you identify as a boomer, or has anyone ever?
I think I'm close to that.
Okay,
Like 78, so it's right around 1978. I'm not 78, but
he's
born
seven,
in
dude. He's a you
1978.
you look great for 78,
Thank
brother.
you,
Like
thank
holy
you.
shit, sexy vampire.
Yeah, right around 45. So,
Sidebar to my sidebar, I
mhm.
think if I was a vampire, like I think the age I would want to cut off would be like late 30s into my 40s, because I want to be like gray fox sexy daddy vampire, like
Yeah,
not where I'm ancient, but just right at that sweet spot where I'm like salt and pepper and like rare. This
yeah,
but no, I mentioned the boomer comment because like I would naturally say I'm not trying to make a whole generation thing.
yeah,
But I know a good chunk of people who are kind of like, I've reached this age. I refuse to grow. I refuse to change. Like you mentioned, I haven't read a book since high school. Like it's
yeah,
like there are so many people. I guess I don't know. I don't want to have you make generalizations, but I mean, have you met a
yeah.
lot of people around your age that just don't do what you do or
No, I mean, boomers are. I mean, I was just looking to get up. They're generally people born like 15 years before me, even. So you'd be talking people are almost 60 now.
mm,
So for me, I mean, 40s, like my friends, a couple of my friends read, but a couple of my friends from high school were the brains in high school too. I mean, one guy would read a book on the way to a field trip to go
mm,
to the place, and then he'd read a different book on the way back because he read like 4,000 words a minute.
jeez.
So he was hard to keep up with. So that was my competition of like, that dude's blazing through two books on the way to the zoo and back. Like,
How old was this?
this is like 14, 15.
And you tried to keep up with the guy? Like you were that
Well, he
determined
was one
too?
of my 3 or 4 friends that were sort of like that. That was his outstanding ability, was reading fast, but everybody else was also in like Mensa and which was like the high IQ club.
Yeah.
So I'm just like trying to fit in and be like, but I was homeschooled for a year and a half. I read a lot.
That's hilarious though. You're exactly like I had like a little semi practice though. It's
Yeah.
oh man. Okay.
So
I more again compliment because I just kind of find it and I did remember your age. I'm sorry. I was just like, you're
no, you're
definitely
fine.
not 60. You're not.
No, you're good.
Funny enough, you are the boomers of this generation now, but like, I
Yeah.
think you guys are,
But I'm like right at the end of Gen X, which is
I,
weird to think of.
right?
Like
Time
I
will
don't
march
feel,
on.
but
It's,
okay. But like I'm not Gen Z because that starts in the 80s and I'm 78, so I'm at the end of Gen X, which is okay.
you're the kind of right in the, we, millennials have the same thing where they're kind of on the cusp of being a Zoomer, like the
Yeah.
kind of the Gen Z, but then they're also like, somewhere around that 2006 2007 era, which just time is crazy when you think about it. Like
Yeah, exactly.
I heard someone do you remember the, and we're going on a tangent and we're going to
You're
do the
fine.
tangent, we're going to come right back to what we are talking
Tangent,
about,
tangent.
but have you ever seen or heard the song 1985 by Bowling for Soup?
hmm
Okay, someone did a cover of that song kind of called it 2005 because we are now at the time where when they wrote 1985, it was 2004. Like that was it was like that many years between the generations. Now we're at 2005, and just kind of like it's crazy. Just time is
Yeah.
moving forward, and things are man, I don't know. It's like okay, we're talking about the 80s. I
hmm
remember in the 2000s, like people were like, oh, like very fond, very like, oh, classic 80 movies, and now we're calling them like, oh, timeless classics.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, like it's crazy.
You see in the 80s and 90s style at Halloween costume party stores, just like, wait, what?
Yeah. Oh my God. So what do you think the 2000s are going to be? I'm thinking, yeah,
Um,
I think like Usher kind of stuff, like big, probably your generation, I'd say, probably
yeah.
big pants. Well,
I
not
mean,
big pants.
2000s was weird at the time. 2000, 2010, it didn't seem to have a style even at the time. I mean, it
It's
was
because we
like
were
sort of
figuring
like
it
skinny
out.
jeans,
Oh God. Yep, that's
but
right.
that was like really it because it's like it's not baggy jeans. Like, okay,
Did you ever wear a pair of skinny jeans?
no. I played soccer for like something like 20 seasons, like
Yeah.
a couple times or 2 or 3 seasons in a year, but my thighs are just way too big.
Bro,
Like
can you stop? I'm getting a boner. Like this,
they're
can you?
yeah, they're ridiculous. Like I got like yeah, when I in the military going on like, jogs, I could tell when we'd hit a mile to a mile and a half because my thighs would start chafing. So
Oh
if we
my
had like
God.
a 4 toward 8 mile jog,
Oh, you poor man.
they'd sucked. Yeah. They're
Sweet
like, you fat
Jesus.
boy, chubby thighs. I'm like, no, I'm not fat.
I'm not
I'm way
fat. I'm
below
just
weight.
extra juicy here,
Yeah.
okay?
Some
Like
of us kicked a ball before.
I'm just dummy. Have you ever seen that meme? It's like it's like Metal Gear Solid. It's like Commander, like I'm trying to sneak past the guards, but my cheeks are so thick that they keep clapping when I'm crawling. Like I'm sorry.
I haven't seen that one. No.
It's yeah. Just doing memes. It's all about the memes.
Yeah.
It's full circle here. But
All
okay,
about the
well,
memes.
again, not back to being about the
Mhm.
boomerisms or the generation like assuming, but I still think it's fascinating that out of all the people I got to work with though, I got like the super smart kid that like you said, I don't know, I respect people who want to better themselves. And
Yeah.
I think it's so sick. Like guys, like you have no idea. We haven't even got to the fucking main point. Like we haven't got to, I don't
We're
think to
just
any of
teasing
your
right now.
stories. Like we haven't gotten to the war stories about that. We haven't gotten to he's making his own game. And like I still think your artwork is cool. Or I've been telling people about the concept, about the whole like RPG and
Yeah.
purgatory and the phobias. Again, like I'm really generalizing a lot, but oh my God, I'm gonna mini spoil it. The
Yeah.
cook class. I want you to put more work in the cook profession because like I think that's the sweet spot. Like you're like, oh
Mhm.
hey, it's just smart to have a good meal because a good meal
Yeah.
changes everything.
And if you roll badly, you poison everybody. So for the next round, they get negatives is the trade-off.
Almost like a barbarian chef, just like a shirtless, like big fancy
That'd be
Mario
awesome.
chef's
Yeah.
hat, but like I don't know.
Butcher knife, just
Ooh, there you
big
go.
big what, bone of meat or whatever.
Dude, that I
T-bone.
mean, hey, I if I could commish a drawing, I'd love to see whatever a chef, like a really either a I don't know, maybe a barbarian chef or maybe just like a fancy adventure chef. Like what would a chef look like in your universe that wants to be
Yeah.
practical but also like oh man. There's okay. So we talked about you drawing. So we talked about your ability to learn. I briefly touched the military. So I'm guessing you're probably the smart kid in high school. Probably kicked ass.
Nah, I was the nerd that was a smart mouth in high school.
Hmm. At, yeah, okay, close enough. But no,
Yeah,
but you would say like you were quick-witted, wouldn't you
yeah,
say?
definitely quick-witted. Yeah, definitely
Yeah.
quick-witted. I had friends, but I wasn't the 10% popular kids. I was definitely not in that. I was
You,
more like the art
yeah.
kids, the nerdy drama kids.
Yeah, it's if anything you didn't even need them because you had your
Yeah,
perfect little squad. Do you ever
yeah,
keep in contact with the high school homies?
yeah, quite a bit. Yeah, I had a small high school, like less than 400 people.
Hmm.
And so each grade, like seniors, was less than 100 people. And then I think
Oh,
freshman was just over 100, like 110. So yeah, 50
yeah.
males, 50 women. So yeah, you can sort of keep in touch with the people you like. But
That's hilarious. Well,
yeah.
it's well because so funny enough, so my homies from high school are the same guys I kicked it with it actually in high school. They were
Mhm.
best friends at the wedding, and that's just cool. That's I we kind of also had the whole like friends challenging each other, but like in better ways. Like
Yeah.
who can read the most, who can like crank out the most homework, who can do the most things. And I got a buddy who's trying to be a doctor. He's in his doctorate program right now, and he's trying to be like it's a criminal psychologist, but like he
Mhm.
wants to study like the mental health of the people that should not be walking around.
Yeah, like Criminal Minds, like profiling type thing, or no?
Profiling, but like yeah, but just kind of in the prison system, like oh,
Yeah,
just it's but like the stuff he's doing and he's researching, like his mind, he devours knowledge.
yeah,
And it's sick. And you're just kind of finding like it's really like those people who prosper. It's no matter what cards life deals with you. It's just like
yeah.
you're gonna
They're
be
gonna succeed.
you'll be resourceful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that person's
So
not gonna fail. They're gonna do it. Put up some
t
obstacles, they'll work around it. It's fine.
tell
Yeah.
me about high school. Tell me about did we go in eventually into college? And then when did you decide through the military and how we got here? Kind of the email you sent me.
Yeah.
Let's start with the story. So,
Yeah. So I grew up in Fresno until I was around 12. Moved up to Cave Junction. Before we moved up from Fresno, I was homeschooled for a year and a half or so. So I went from like a private Christian school, homeschooled for a year and a half, and then at 12 went up to Oregon to a little tiny high school in Cave Junction. Like I said, 400 kids, and then just lived there and went up to Rogue Community College after that for 3 years, got an associate's, and then went up to Portland State for a couple years, and then dropped out because I realized getting a 4 year art degree wasn't really going to get me a job. I could either do art or I couldn't. A degree wasn't going to get me a job.
facts.
And then
And
a year or two later, I ended up going to the Marines, and I was like 26 when I went. So,
well, let's talk about that then.
yeah.
Has your family been a military family?
My half brother was in the Navy, and he was like when I was in high school, like 10 years before I signed up, he went in. So during the Gulf War, he was doing that, but nobody else really was military service. For me, I always thought I'd get drafted if I really, needed to go.
Mm,
And then when I was 26, I got fired from a job I was just about to get health insurance for. So I was like, well, that was going to be, sort of like the career type thing, and it just got yanked out. If I was in the military, they couldn't just, yank out my benefits, they'd have to pay me for 4 years. Haha, I'm gonna outsmart the system. So right next to the unemployment office, there's the recruiting offices, which is a weird coincidence.
Mm,
So went into the Marines and basically talked to them for a bit and figured out that's where I wanted to go. I was looking at a Air Force mail clerk,
mhm,
which is a 3 year enlistment. But I ended up doing 5 years in the Marines because I wanted to do FAST Company, which stands for Fleet Anti-Terrorism Security Team.
mm.
And basically, that takes an extra year for training, almost. So they give you a 5 year contract instead of before. And then you get a secret clearance. There's other jobs you can get. I tried to go for
So
that have
you,
a top secret, but I couldn't
Chris-
get it because I had bankruptcy.
which is fucking stupid. Like we haven't even
Yeah,
talked about
really.
that.
Yeah.
Like, so did you score? What's the test where because I forgot the military
Yeah.
make you do it. What's it called? That where
The
you
ASVAB.
the ASVAB. So you
Yeah.
scored really freaking high then on the
Yeah, and
ASVAB, I
I
bet.
thought I missed some, and so I went back to him, and I was like, "Hey, I only got like a 98," and they're like, "Well, it's out of a 98." I'm like, "Oh, never
Nah,
mind." Like, like
damn.
I thought the 99. Like, why do you do a score? Why isn't it out of one out of a? All right, so the ASVAB score it's 99, so I thought I missed one, and I went to the recruiter and said, "Hey, can I redo the ASVAB?" He's like, "No, it's out of 99." So, I, but I mean, I'd gone to college, for a few years, and it's not designed for people that have an associate's degree and are working on a bachelor's. So
Hmm.
I would hope I'd score high.
But I mean, that's just so crazy. And like, I mean, what were your choice of jobs besides what you actively or ended up picking? Like, I mean, did you essentially, could you have done anything?
Yeah, because there's another score that goes with the ASVAB score. It
Mm,
combines three different things, I believe, two or three things. It's like your mechanical aptitude. It's really like it'll show like five gears, and it's like if the gear on the left rotates clockwise, what way does gear number four rotate? And you're
mm,
like, well, clockwise, counterclockwise, you just follow it. And you're like, some people just can't do it.
mm.
And it's like, what would you use to do this? Would it be an Allen wrench or a socket wrench? Pretty easy. So some of that
Yeah.
stuff seemed pretty intuitive, but that's where like mechanical knowledge. But based on that, like I could pretty much do any of the jobs I wanted. I thought I was going to get the one I wanted, which was uniform whiskey, which is
Mm.
basically the guy at the front door for the White House or greeting him getting off the helicopter.
What do we call those? We call those misters, or you're just one of those
Yeah.
nameless faces where like you
Hmm.
just like yeah, the cloak of the president of just like
Yeah.
Get down, Mister. Have you ever played that? Get down, Mr. President.
No, no,
It's
that'd be
when you
fun.
tackle your friend, you have to say that, and then you're
That'd be awesome.
yeah, just get down, Mr. President.
That's a fun one.
Yeah, I like to do it to my wife all the time. Like it's great. Get down,
Yeah.
Mrs. President. Sorry, TMI, TMI,
That's
TMI.
great though.
So okay, did you always? So what did you want to be? Just a secret agent? Like what
No, I
thought
mean,
this to go
I
from
figured,
drawing to like I want to fucking be a just a badass, just like
well, at 26, I was like, okay, I was going to school for art. I got an associate's. Really, I just need a degree. I've been trying to go to work. Didn't really, I just got fired right before I got health insurance. I was like, fuck all this. I'm gonna go to the
yeah.
military, and then at least I'll go. So basically, I figured when I'm going to the military, I'm going to come out and get college. So I could either go into the Air Force in 3 years, I would get college paid for, and I'd be done with my military obligation.
Hmm.
But if I went into the Air Force and then I went and just did the mail room for the Air Force, I don't think I'm going to be a different person. But
Hmm.
if I go into the Marines to a job that's anti-terrorism security team that has a secret clearance, I'm probably going to have to be more disciplined and be a different person than I am going in.
Hmm.
So for
Okay.
me, it was
Okay.
just like I've never met a Marine that I couldn't tell was a Marine. I've met plenty of people that were former Army, former Navy, former Air Force that you could never tell they were in the military.
Interesting.
Like, and when I was thinking about it, I met some people that like met a guy that repaired my cable, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I think about being a Marine. I was in the Air Force," and I he totally looked civilian to me. Didn't look anything military bearing. Nothing about him said military to me about how he carried himself, looked, dressed, acted, talked.
So tell me about that. So like, because I mean, I kind of get it that military, or at least what's the look like then? Is it the
It's
yeah,
it, it
yeah, what is it then? How do
I mean,
you
in Marine Corps boot camp, you have 3 months. Everything else has 2 months, except for Coast Guard, which is 6 weeks. So you just figure you have 3 months of indoctrinating somebody compared to 2 months. One
actually
of those
yeah.
months is just drilling of how to march, which the other branches really don't do. So it's
Mm,
really just teaching you how to walk in step with 45 other people. So you're really trying to like not be an individual as much as just being
cog and
part of a
wheel.
group. And it's like the tall blade gets cut, the tall grass gets cut first, that type of thing.
Mm,
The tall nail gets hammered first, that type of
yeah.
thing. And so it's just you just don't stick out as much. And like after 3 months, one of my friends, when they came out, we said, "Hey, over here," and they turned around and they did the heels turn where they put their heel and then they spin on their heel 180 like they're marching.
Yeah.
But he did it totally unconscious, just turning around. It was just
That's
his new way
hilarious.
he turned.
Just
It
just
was just
you do that now. It's like that just
yeah,
that's it's you didn't
yeah.
know about it, but now
It
you're
wasn't
just
conscious, but 3 months of boot camp, he came out and he was boop, heel turn, what? So just, and he tucked his shirt into his underwear when he got out of boot camp
oh my God.
and stuff like that.
So it just sounds like so is it strictly a Marine thing? Just because you guys have that sense of we've been in hell or we've been in programming
Well, it's
longer?
programming for 3 months. And then there's also people that really buy into being Marine. So there's
Mm,
people that really try and epitomize being a Marine. And then it's so small that you pretty much know other Marines or you know somebody that knows them. Because
mm.
there's like only 230,000 Marines, give or take, but
Wow.
it's a
That's
small
compared to like
branch.
how many actually I'm just gonna think like how many active, we'll say Air Force
Yeah.
members are there?
And then if you're in
300
something like infantry, there's only roughly 30,000 infantry
mm,
worldwide. So if you're out in town and someone sees you without a shaved mustache, they're going to know you're a Marine. They're going to know you're not within quote unquote regs. You're going to be like, go back to base and shave. Otherwise, I'm going to get you in trouble.
which did that happen to you? I think did we talk about that? Did that
It didn't ever happen to me, but I mean, I went in at 26. I wasn't an 18-year-old trying to like, no, I don't want
be
to
cool?
listen. I
Yeah.
just accepted, like, I get it. It's not a hill worth dying on.
No,
I'm not trying to get away with not
exactly.
shaving for the weekend to try and
Like,
fool girls.
how dare you? Except, yeah, no. If anything, I feel
Yeah,
like you could probably grow like eventually when you can get the mustache. I feel like you probably do. I always wanted to do like the cop thing or like the porn stash, like just
yeah,
the mussy, you know?
yeah, and that's what I did that too. Ended up being called the molestache because it didn't look good. Because you can't have it go past your mouth, so
Yeah,
it's right. It's a little bit wider than your nose, so it's not like a Hitler stash, but it can't go past the corners of your mouth,
that's so
and it just
funny.
doesn't look good on most people.
And here's me trying to be somewhat conscious though, but no, you hit it on the fucking head. Like
Yep,
that's exactly what the
the
fucking
molestache, yeah.
molestache. I'm gonna that no, I can't make that
Or
the title
the
for this
petastache,
episode.
the pedostache is the other one, but
Pedostache.
that's probably not even. That's an even worse title.
Fucking A. So okay, but so you signed up for this thing.
Yeah,
This sounded interesting, and I
yeah.
mean, tell us more what exactly this entailed. Like,
So basically, I thought like, hey, test score, I get to pick what I want. Like, do you want to be on a sub? Like, that sucks now. And so I wanted to guard basically the either Air Force One, which was whatever helicopter the president's flying on. You'd be the guy at the door saluting him when he gets on and off Air Force One, or the door for the White House.
hmm,
And after 4 years, you get a letter from, all the senators and congressmen saying, hey, hire this Marine. I knew him for 4 years. I saw him every day. He's
heck
good.
yeah,
Cool.
okay,
But the day I was going to sign in for MEPS after being depped in for 6 months. So when you sign up for a contract, you're like, hey, I'm going to serve 5 years in my case.
hmm,
A lot of people do 4. You actually serve an 8-year contract, and that's just to be called up in reserves. But when you sign up, is when that 8 years starts. So I signed up, but I didn't go to boot camp till 6 months later.
ooh,
So 6 months later, I sign up to DEP to the MEPS to basically swear in and everything, and that's when my recruiter shows up and goes, "Hey, You know that job that I told you could have for 6 months?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, now's the day that you got to sign this new contract where you're giving up that job and taking this other one. So
Which,
instead of doing that presidential one, I had to do Fast Company, which is fine, but there's two parts of that, like one that goes overseas and you're like the 911 call if something goes wrong, which is
mm-hmm.
cool, or you get stationed stateside to guard nukes and you sit there in the wire, guarding the nukes for 24 hours a day 1 week, and then you go outside the wire 24 hours a day for 1 week. And you just do that for your whole 2 year deployment.
So what did you do? Was
I
that
went
it?
Fast Company. I didn't have to guard nukes and just sit there all day for a week at a time. I
Right.
got to actually go overseas and deploy. So I got to go to Spain, which has legal prostitution and nude beaches. So that was an awesome deployment compared to having to guard nukes 7 days a week, 24 hours a day.
That's super funny. I was just thinking about like, hey, what did you get to do? What's that? And
Yeah.
freaking no, you had the fun kind of fun. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So did you end up ever seeing action though, or were you just
I never did. So I
which?
did a lot of training, but I never had anybody shoot at me in an aggressive manner. I was never technically in a combat zone. Now we were in Guantanamo, and supposedly we had shots fired at us from the other side, so we
Hmm,
got it reported, but that's not me
that's
being
not
in a combat zone. Yeah, that's
yeah,
not what
or
you're asking.
mortars getting dropped down on you though, and
Yeah,
not
yeah.
to diminish your service though, but what
No.
was your tour of duty?
So I went, did quite a few deployments. First I did boot camp, and then I did School of Infantry, and then I did squad leader course, and then I got sent to my unit. And then we do your training for around 6 months. Then I went to Guantanamo,
Hmm.
and so did that in Cuba. Had like a category 1, 2 hurricane, something like that.
Oh
Something we had to be
shit.
locked in our barracks and have food delivered by people in helmets
Yeah.
because of the hurricane. And we just all got to grab beer and shell up for a few days. That was awesome. Like we can't go out, can't train. Cool, we'll get beer.
Okay,
And then
that's yeah.
came back and did another workup, and we did Spain. And during Spain, we went and trained with. We could talk about it now because it's past the time.
There you
So
go.
we went and trained with Israel at the time. They're getting attacked, and Gaza had tanks on the cover of Newsweek.
Mm,
That was on the cover of Newsweek when we were boarding the flight. And we're like, hey, you can't talk about this for like 7 or 10 years because of whatever.
jeez.
So, because yeah, if we were there and it became known and they captured U.S. Marines training Israeli troops, when this is happening, it could be an international thing. So you couldn't tell your parents, couldn't tell anybody. And then got back from that, and so that was that it for Fast Company. After I did all that,
That must have, were
and
you terrified when that happened? Like you're like, I'm gonna like
eh,
see some potentially World War III shit or
a
preparing
little
for it?
bit. I mean, we were in our camp in Israel, and then on the horizon, you could see what looked like fireworks going off. 4th of July. So the
Fireworks.
explosions, booms, smoke, and every night you'd see firework displays going off, but no, it's actually fighting down on the Gaza Strip, and it's
Fucking
not celebration. And
also
yeah,
also
right
it
there.
it it sucks shit because like the more we're talking about this though, the more I'm thinking just like God, this thing is this we've been fighting for Gaza and
Yeah,
okay, so I'm gonna please be careful how you answer this, but I am
yeah.
mildly curious. So, what were the years from? From what year to what year, if you don't mind me asking?
Right around 07, 08, right around there.
Okay. Oh man, so that was after like would you even say peak uh Iraq situation? Okay, so yeah, so
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
all right,
The global
man.
war on terrorism was happening. So Fast Company there's three basically sections of the globe. So when you deploy as Fast Company for your deployment,
Hmm,
you're in charge of that 1/3 of the world if whatever general needs boots on the
interesting.
ground in 24 hours. In the
Okay.
meantime, we just go train. So that's what we were doing. We were just training
Right.
with Israelis and cross training and
But
showing them
that's
how
the kind
we
of
do and they do.
crazy thing though. It's like you'll be like, hey, like it's doing real big war games kind of shit
Yeah.
where
Yep.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
big
We did a whole,
totals.
like, after working up for 2 weeks, we showed them what it looked like to do mortars with machine gun, with advancing infantry, with helicopters overhead, and so combined infantry and air and everything. So yeah.
That's man, it's just crazy because this sounds so fucking badass. Because I bet you saw a lot of real cool shit. Like,
Yeah, one of the cooler things we went to Israel, we had a guy show up and start talking to us on our second day,
yeah.
and I recognized him from CNN.
That's Kilokisky.
He was the guy from the Israeli Defense Force that spoke English,
Oh
and he
God.
gave us his background. Basically, like he went to Israel and he enlisted, and basically everybody has to serve. I think it's 2 and 3 years or 3 and 4 years. Male and female is different. I think it's 3 and 2 years. But basically, if you enlist, they consider that being like you're a lifer, sort of like with
Mm,
the regular military for the U.S. But
yeah.
since hardly anybody does more than the minimum, because you need to be in Israel, you need to enlist to be able to be considered a citizen and like I believe to own property.
So they're basically doing it's Starship Troopers then.
Yeah,
Holy shit.
but they have
Okay.
their rifle. It's their rifle until they're I think 65, so they can get called back. They're reservist pretty much for life, but
Hmm.
most of them don't re-enlist and do that for their career. They just
Right.
do their three and out. So when you're in for the Israel army, it's either your special forces or your other. So either you get all
There's
the
only two
training
boxes.
or you're going to be like a cook or a driver or somebody that cleans up or yeah,
It's
you're going to
kind
be
of
a shock
it's
trooper.
kind of like the Marines, except like you mentioned, there's only so much infantry, but there's this many
Yeah,
jobs in the Marines where it's like this is other stuff that they're doing besides just boots
yeah.
on the ground fighting.
So you're
Okay,
either infantry or supporting the infantry, and they draw a very clear line with Israel.
jeez.
And it's weird because like so you'll get the longer you're in, you'll get promoted and paid more. So we met a guy that was just drove Humvees, and that's what he did because that's what he wanted to do.
That's all you need.
He didn't want
Exactly.
to be a trigger puller. He just wanted
Oh
to help
my.
out and serve his country, and that's what he did. He didn't do his reservist. He did this full time, and he'd been promoted. So he'd been in for 20 years, but he's just a Humvee driver.
I
But he
was
was
just
like
gonna ask,
a
is that what you guys call it? Like just like the basic bitch job, trigger puller?
well, yeah, well, trigger puller is infantry, like, and
That's just so funny, dude. Like
yeah,
that's that's the name.
well, because everybody else isn't pulling triggers; they're back in the rear pushing a button or doing something.
You guys, so you're a button pusher, is what you're saying.
Well,
Well, I
no,
mean,
I'm a trigger puller.
technically,
I'm infantry.
I was gonna say, yeah, no. So I guess the mortars would be because I was always wondering. It's like I've never shot a mortar before. I didn't know if there's just like a big button that says fire on it or
No,
something. Or
they call them tube strokers.
two strokers.
Yeah,
God,
it's usually not a term of endearment, but yeah, tube
I was just gonna
strokers.
say, you had all these guys under you. You're stroking tubes, man. Are you trying to say something?
No, it's
Like,
because when you drop a round in the mortar tube, you want to drop your hand down the shaft
yeah,
or the
yeah,
length of the barrel. Because
yeah.
if you leave your hand outside the barrel, when the round instantly hits the bottom and shoots out really fast, those fins are on the round to stabilize it. The
Mm.
fins are going to cut off your fingers
Yo,
and fling them
shit.
a few hundred yards out. And we're going to have to
Jeez.
go police call and find your fingers and shut down the
No.
range. So yeah,
Just
you got to stroke the tube, and everybody makes fun of you for being tube strokers.
so how often have people lost fingers doing that?
During training, you get told that it totally happens all the time. I've never seen it, never
Okay.
met somebody, but
Okay.
supposedly.
Because I was gonna joke and say exactly what you said before, but slowly about like, but not that just blows my freaking mind that like
Yeah.
because I the only frame of reference I have and it's stupid and
Mhm.
topical is the Star Wars Battlefront like re-release. I don't know if you know, but like, did you ever play the old school Battlefront like on Xbox?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love it.
They re-released it on like PS5, Xbox One, the PCs,
Mhm.
and then you have Helldivers where everyone's just again just big toys,
Yeah,
it's
Helldivers love.
big weapons is fun. Like
Hmm.
Big Boom is I don't know. That's the only frame reference I had was playing Star Wars Battlefront and looking at Helldiver videos. You actually got to fire it, and I mean, how
Oh
do
my
you?
gosh. Yeah, there's some fun things. There's like an automatic grenade launcher
What
that you can fire.
the
It's
fuck?
so awesome because you can see
Oh
the
man.
rounds, and so it has like butterfly triggers. Basically, you grab like two handles, one in each hand, and then your thumbs push down the butterfly triggers between, and you're sitting down like cross-legged on like the tripod legs for the whole thing.
Mhm.
Because the whole thing, it kicks so high, it's like pushing up your body weight.
Jeez.
But when you're shooting it, you can see the grenades going out, and they're the same like 40 mic grenades, 40 millimeter grenades that go
Mhm.
underneath like your rifle. Hey, you saw like in Scarface, like say hello to my little friend.
Yeah.
That's a 203. That's a 40 mic grenade.
Jeez. So
So
the fact
this
that
is just a
he's like
chain
shooting
fed.
that without any like things, like it's pretty impressive that
Yeah.
he's a little
Well, they
fucking guy
barely
like
have a
that. That
kick.
just
You barely even feel it. It
oh
feels like a
really?
Nerf gun. Almost. Yeah, it's like boom. You
That's
barely even
so
feel it.
that's so funny. Just
Yeah.
think of those as Nerf brand grenade launchers.
Yeah. But yeah, just think of that being belt fed. So you have a chain fed of that. So when you're firing it, just tunk 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 tunk, and then you can see them going down range and then just blowing up. So you can like walk the rounds on. Oh, it's so fun.
Oh,
That was the
dude.
funnest gun to fire.
No,
Funner
and
than 50 cal.
that's also a fun sentence to say out loud. Hell yeah, that's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
metal.
Hell yeah.
So, bro, okay. The question I want to ask, and I want you to answer it
Hmm.
carefully, is the more I'm talking about people in the military, like before it was like in the 2000s where there was this like level of patriotism was like this, like you said, there are people who sign up for the Marines that buy into being a Marine. That like this is what I stand for, this is what I'm fighting for.
Yeah.
In the 2000s, very like pro America, this, that, and the other thing. And I'm just now hearing people talk about their experiences with our government and just not saying shady things were going on, but it's just like they're seeing like I kind of maybe work for not such an upstanding place. Like, did you ever have a situation like that where you were just like, man, I don't like who I'm working for?
No.
No?
No.
Okay, fucking A,
No.
I'm wrong. Okay.
'Cause that's people that don't realize that there's other countries where they don't have clean water. Like it's the
Mm.
scale you're judging America on, you're trying to hold them to. It's just not fair. It's not like I can't believe they did XYZ. You're like, yeah, but
They
I
don't
don't
have
know.
clean drinking water, and
It's just if
we.
you want to compare atrocities, it's hard to compare atrocities. I mean,
It's just more, I guess, like
anyways,
okay, because you mentioned about the Bin Laden letters,
yeah,
and I mean, this is a very this
you
is the
go
hot.
for it. I don't care.
Okay, 9/11.
Hmm.
Is it an inside job? Yes or no?
Potentially. I mean, if you consider like Pearl Harbor's an inside job, if you want to consider
Interesting.
that too.
Was it? Don't tell me it was. Like
Well,
I.
supposedly the president heard that Pearl Harbor was happening, but if he would have stopped it before, America wouldn't have gotten in the war. The only way for America to get in the war is if Pearl Harbor got attacked.
Which I mean,
So,
it makes
was it an
sense.
inside job? Did he know? I mean, does it
I mean,
matter?
can't do does jet fuel melt submarines? Like,
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
it's like how much. I mean, once you go down for the 9/11, once you go down the other building that was attacked, not the Twin Towers, but the other
Mhm.
one that was like right next to it, that had all the government records in it that got burnt down. There's no
Mm,
backups.
there you
And the day
go.
before, we all of a sudden said they were missing a few $1 trillion on CNN or whatever news network that was, where they said, "Hey, we're missing a few trillion," and then that gets hit.
Well, but that's what I'm talking about right there, where it's just
Yeah,
like, I mean, so you never had any like kind of weird, I don't want to say political correction, but it's like they're not
no,
talking about this stuff on the
no.
TV, like, and they should. Like,
No, I mean, the most I was in Guantanamo, but we guarded the perimeter of Guantanamo.
yeah,
And the Navy actually has what's called Camp America on there. It's like a small section of the huge area that's Guantanamo.
yeah,
They have like a base, and that base is where everybody's kept and talked to.
right.
So I never saw any of that. I could see the Navy guards and I'd drive past them, but never went in the building, never saw anybody being questioned, never, So for me, it's always looked very above board, like, hey, go patrol. Like,
That's
cool.
funny. It's just
All
like there's
right.
this, I mean, because it makes sense. If you haven't gone in the building, if you haven't seen what happened, it's just
Yeah.
a building.
Yeah.
Well then I guess here's maybe not so much a controversial question, but it's like would it be fair to say that you I don't want to say had an easy time with the military, but you had a very positive experience with.
Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of stuff you could get negative about, but as far as what it was, I mean, yeah, it was good. The job sucked, especially for infantry, but the weekends are awesome. And in the Marines, you got to go out in groups.
Hmm.
Even your first couple years, like probably until your first 2 or 3 years, you got to go out in groups, especially when you're going overseas.
Yeah.
So when we were like in Spain, you go out in a group of four. You might not be able to train next week, or maybe you didn't get to go out last weekend for training. So now you got your 2 week paycheck with four people. You're probably going out with 2 grand, 3 grand,
And you're in Spain.
and
Like,
you're
oh my
in shape.
God.
You're
Like,
young male. You're
Jesus.
American. You got money. You're
So
just
you
looking for fun
literally had
time.
the best fucking. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Like, dude,
yeah,
you kind of pulled a lotto
yeah,
ticket for the military. Like, I
yeah.
hear
It's
horror
not bad.
stories, and you're like, man, I got to blow shit up. I got to have sex with a lot of women. My
Yeah,
dick's big. Like,
I did. I did hit up hookers, hit a hookers,
hit
but
a
I did go to
hooker.
a lot of like hookers. Like basically each country I try and go, and then one of the times I was able to get 2 weeks off from our unit,
Mhm.
and I went to Europe, and I took a buddy from my unit to go to Europe, and so we went to Dublin, we went to Paris, we went to Rome, in that 2 weeks. And we,
Damn.
we went to Belgium where I have some friends. And we went to that red light district in Belgium and got to introduce him to his first lady of the night,
Oh my
first
God.
lady in
Lady
general.
of the
So
night.
that
Love it.
was fun because it was around Christmas. So some of them wearing, you know, Christmas stocking hats and stuff, and some were dressed as,
I love it. At least you're making
yeah,
it festive, you know.
yeah,
Like it.
it was
That's
fun.
thanks, Mrs. Santa Claus, for helping me come into the new year. Whatever. I think that's what they
Uh-huh.
say. That
Yeah, he was a big fan. Yeah, he wanted to go back.
white, yeah, for White
So
Christmas.
years later, we still hang out and talk. We're like, hey man, remember
Hey, remember?
Belgium? Like, yeah, I definitely do.
He's like, bro, I never forget it. Like, I that's why you think I'm always coming back here. Like, I
Yeah,
just
it's awesome.
so I mean, how did you meet your wife then? Like, did you find her very late in the game, or
Yeah,
was this some, you know?
yeah, like I don't know. It's got to be a while. It's close to 10 years now. Basically, met her at jiu-jitsu. We were both training. She was with somebody else at the time, so I didn't look at her like anything. Just looked at
Yeah.
her like a training partner. Then we went over to a friend's house that was showing a UFC. And at that time, she'd been broken up for a little bit. And we sort of chatted at the UFC event at a friend's house. And we ended up hanging out after that and started watching some movies and going to hockey games and comedy clubs and
And then
recently got married. Yeah,
practicing wrestling
exactly.
at home, you know, that kind of
Yeah,
thing.
just
Just
tap,
like,
just tap.
yeah, there you go.
I'd
Sub
rather go out.
submit. Oh, that's that's funny. I'm
Yeah.
dude, God, I'm not going down. I was gonna be gross for a second. We're just gonna
Yeah.
keep moving on.
Hey,
That's
that's my
badass as
wife.
hell. That's no, dude, that's like I don't know, man. It's just at figuring this out, dude. Like you had a fucking awesome life, man. Like that's
Yeah, it could be worse. Just
yeah, it could most definitely, but
it's
it
fun
was
when the wife gets road rage. She's like, I want to drag that chick out of her car and armbar. I'm like, I bet you could too. So she's like wanting to like want to do a Darce choke on that chick. I'm like, that bitch came up to me, I'd ankle pick her. I'm like, okay, calm down.
look, honey, it's fine. It's just the grocery store.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
okay. You don't need to WWE this shit. I
Yeah, she took my cart. You saw that bitch. All right, calm down.
Oh man, I when did we actually start this thing? Do you
I think 3:30ish. I think. I'm not
3:30?
sure.
I actually think it was 2:30
2:30,
maybe.
maybe.
I
Yeah, it
gotta
might
pee.
be.
I've been holding in something fierce.
All
This
right.
has been hella rad. Let me come back. Let's just take like a 5 minute break.
Okay.
We're not
Sounds
even
good.
we'll take a 5 minute break. You check on your dogs and
Yep.
let's talk about how we're getting to the end of this.
Okay.
But dude, this is man, I know you're having a good time. I've
Yeah.
never heard you laugh like that before, at least off the hours. So I know you're
Yeah, it's hard to laugh at work.
it isn't that
Well,
I feel like isn't that a funny sentence you said right there? It's hard to laugh at work. Like
no, it's
God,
the only
that's
people that can get me fired are at work. That's why I
yeah,
don't like to be friends with people at work, like Britt. That's
fucking
why I
A.
try and say crazy shit to him when I was off work,
Mhm.
just to see what he'd do.
And what did he say? Did he ever get back to you? Did you guys still like talk for a second?
No, no, we still talked, but then like he'd get really offended, and then he just wouldn't hang out for a couple months. Then
That's
He'd
hella
invite me to
funny.
hang out with him and go watch ballet, like I
Yeah.
said. So we'd okay. I went downtown,
Shout out
watch
to Britt
something.
if you're listening. We
Yeah,
I
he's
hey,
awesome.
I fucking love that guy. And if you're listening, man, dude, he was like the best lead because like I
Dude, I
was
liked him.
and well, the best part for me is like he would call me on my bullshit. Like he'd be
Mm.
like, bro, what the fuck?
Yeah,
Like you know where you need to go. Like like was so patient. Thank you, Britt.
yeah,
But
yeah. He was fun, but yeah, I think we had a very different life paths. And like a lot of my humor is shock humor. I just like to say stuff that's really jarring just to get a reaction. And he would try and be stoic and not give a reaction. So
oh,
it'd
so
make me
you were this
ramp it up.
constant yin and yang of just constantly clashing though. So
Yeah, and
like
he'd just get more and more quiet until he just would eventually not talk to me for a few months.
that's so fucking funny. Oh my
I
God.
thought it was funny.
You're definitely in good company because I think I kind of go to the extreme as far as like examples go.
Yeah,
Like I'm trying to be a bit more tame because also people at our job can fire us, and
yeah, exactly.
I want to see a Law and Order
That
IRS division, just
would be
like
fun.
severe tax fraud and just like the oh look at these
Busting into
receipts,
it.
they're horrible. Like
What
oh my
about your
God.
withholding? What are you withholding? I don't know. Where's your Schedule C?
Like you don't think there'd be so much explosions in a job
Yeah,
about taxes,
yep,
but there's just
everywhere.
fucking A. Well, and an unrelated note, guys, we're just talking comedy over here.
Hmm.
Man, no, dude, this has been a sick episode. I appreciate just you sharing your story, and
Yeah, you're welcome.
I low key jealous. Fun life, man. Like your life sounded way more badass than you might be my coolest guest. I've had some cool guests on here, but you definitely sound like you've had a sick life.
Yeah, there's some things that in order to take the ride, you got to buy the ticket. That was like with the military. There's stuff that was secret clearance. I'm like, well, yeah. The only way I'm going to find out what that's like is if I actually go sign up and do it. So there's quite a few things I've done just for the story.
I'm gonna try to like get these like sent back to back, but so my OG pastor, like the
Mm.
main church preacher dude, uh, head pastor right before pandemic left to become a Navy chaplain, and guess where he
Oh,
got
nice.
stationed?
Guantanamo? Where?
Guantanamo.
Wow. Yeah, nice.
So, but he said almost a similar thing of just like if I didn't have the courage to get out in the water, really put my stuff to work, like I just I'd be doubting it the constant time, and he just
Mm.
I'm hearing his stories, and I'm gonna try to get him on for the cast because he says he's heard some shit, and I'm excited to see this man of the cloth just be just a little grizzled
Yeah.
and salty. I think that's what he said. He said that the ocean has made him salty. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I love
Old
that.
salt dog. Yeah.
There you go. But no, man, it's just it. I'm glad you had the interesting life, and I think this is a good segue into guys. He's gonna come back on. We're gonna talk more about it because
Yeah.
we even talk about like, did we talk about the finger cutting? That was recorded, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That was recorded with the
The
mortars.
tube
Yeah.
stroking. I don't know.
Yeah.
Did we say tube stroker? Like I
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe
okay.
that's the derogatory term or spade player because basically mortars sit somewhere and they cover a radius, and usually the infantry goes and patrols within that radius.
Hmm.
So they're always sitting there waiting for a call for fire. And you just got to be next to your mortar tube. So you usually play spades because you only got to kill some time.
There you
So
go.
that's a big joke of like the mortarmen are usually really good at playing spades.
That's hecka funny though. It's
Yeah.
just we're ready. We're ready to go, but we're
Yeah.
kind of it's so funny when you think about it. Like I think that'd be a great sketch where it's like you have someone like it's really serene, it's really calm. They're just playing spades and it's real quiet. And at a moment's notice, it's just like sound effect, bomb explosion, machine guns. We're gonna have a guy screaming. I have an editor guy. Say a sound effect. We'll put it in right here.
Explosion.
Boom. And then we're gonna do laser beam, like 2 quick succession laser beams.
Pew, pew.
And I'm sorry, Matt. Like, dude, it's really funny behind the scenes, like, cause it's just
Nice.
I'm kind of a bossy bitch.
Yep.
Like, I'll be very frank. Like, I'm very specific. Like, I will make that ass work. Like, I'm just like, okay, like, need this and then this and this and this but we make a good product. This will be
Nice.
a solid episode. You'll enjoy it. You'll send it to your
Good.
friends. But yeah, as we were getting at, we're having our story. Sounds like you guys have really cool military like background. You eventually left. I guess you did your term.
Yeah, do my term.
And where do we go from here? How do we get to the job that you may or may not be working next to me? Like, how did we get
Yeah.
there?
So basically, got out. I was in my mid 30s. I went to college. I already had an associate's degree. I tried to do computer science because, hey, that pays a lot.
Yeah.
And before the military, I was really good at math. And then after the military, I realized I had concentration problems and I ended up getting, disability connected issues with that. But
Mm,
basically, I just realized I couldn't do upper level math even when I studied and then I went to a tutor. I did it with the tutor for an hour
hmm.
and then I went into a test and it was the exact question I'd just gone over with the tutor
Yeah.
3 times in a row, and I totally blanked. I couldn't remember a single thing.
Shit.
I was just like, this is frustrating. I put in the work.
Yeah.
I
And
know
we
how to
we
do it.
clearly talked about how you were a smart kid. You weren't
Yeah,
mama didn't raise no dummy. So,
yeah. So just realizing that basically I had a form of PTSD and with all the explosions from mortars, some people it just rattles their brain. Some people they're not affected at all. For me, it looks like I just had some issues with concentration and memory. So it feels like I just don't have a good grasp of memory sometimes. It just slips away.
or just like the short form attention span. It's just like if you were
Yeah,
just learning it, like you can remember very clearly maybe a special night back in the 80s where you remember the movie you watched and the popcorn and the snacks you
yeah,
ate, but whatever we talked about 20 minutes ago,
exactly. Stuff
it's
like
just
that. And
in.
like 20 minutes ago, I knew how to do this, knew all the steps, but now I don't. Why? Like, no idea. So basically I stopped doing computer science and learning, because I was in calculus 2 and trig.
Oh
And
God.
calculus 2 is when I started having issues with that. So
Calculus is rough, man. It's like
yeah,
it's big people math for sure.
yeah, and I got calculus 2, but I still need to do 3 and 4, and then there's another year or two of math after that, and that's what I was like, okay, I'm not gonna keep faking it and limping through.
This is stupid. I do not
So
like this. No,
yeah,
thank you.
so basically I tried to figure out what I had the credits for to get a degree before my GI Bill ran out, and I
Hmm.
realized I could get psychology. So I started getting a psychology degree, and then I had a minor in sociology,
Mm.
and then when I got ready to finish that degree, I switched them. I switched my minor and my major. So now I was getting a major in sociology and a minor in psychology, so I could get more classes for the GI Bill.
Mm.
So by the time I got done, I had credits for 4 different bachelor degrees for liberal
Okay.
arts, sociology, psychology, and social science. So one's just a general catch-all degree, and 2 of them were pretty much directly related. Just one has a big fancy paper that you
Yeah,
gotta like a research paper.
exactly.
So it sounds impressive when you say I have 4 bachelor degrees, but when you break it down, it's like, well,
Like
yeah,
you just have like like technical cousins of bachelor degrees. Like I
yeah, and
guess
all of them
fine.
would really need a master's to really do anything. So
That's
cool.
hilarious and shitty.
So yeah, so once I got done with that, basically I took a few months off and figured out that hey, I got the degree. I'm in my mid 30s. I don't give a crap that I have the degree. Like I've spent a lot of time. I went to the military, spent 5 years in the military, spent a few more years in college. I finally have the degree. I have 4 of them.
Mm.
Still can't get a job. So
Mm.
basically, I took time off and just tried to figure out my life like I was a video game character. Like, okay,
What year was this when this
this
happened?
was 2015, right around there.
Okay, okay, right around. I mean, that was a pivotal time for a lot of people where people were kind
Yeah,
of getting into the lulls or it was just so you have this j job identity crisis
yeah.
and what's next?
So basically, I tried to figure out what would be like, what are my skills? Like, what can I actually do? What can I just what would just be more effort
Are
than
you a barbarian, a ranger? Like, how are you
yeah,
gonna fit in?
exactly.
Like,
That's why I
where's
tried to objectively look at what am I good at? What would I
okay?
like to do? So I figured I'd like to draw, I'd like to create, I'd like to have something where if I woke up in the morning and I just had to draw some things, people would be happy.
Yeah,
So sort of like the Muppets with Jim Henson
love
or
them.
George Lucas with Star Wars.
Okay,
I'm like, yeah, I mean, if I could be Jim Henson or George Lucas, I mean, who wouldn't want to be that? I mean, yeah, getting paid a whole bunch and everybody just
getting
loves it.
paid to bullshit like whatever
Yeah,
like your fantasy is, and you make
whatever
these
creative idea
amazing
you have,
world.
people are just, oh my gosh, like, yeah, that'd be awesome. That'd be
Oh,
the,
okay, Mickey Mouse. Would just stop
yeah,
buying these
oh my gosh.
properties, you son of a bitch. Get out of here, you
Yeah,
capitalist fuck. All right.
so with that, I just tried to figure out what would I like, and then with my psychology degree, I figured I'd try and like make it a little educational. So I'm trying to make a game that would be an onboarding game for people that are playing Dungeons and Dragons but have never played it before.
Okay.
So it's a lot of imagination with Dungeons and Dragons, not a lot of being shown on a board game what's happening and the pieces moving.
Hmm.
So it's a lot of you acting out how your character would play. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to have you act out how you would in situations. And then if you fail the roles, you would develop fears and phobias. So it's trying to teach you what it would be like if maybe you were afraid of the dark or afraid of the outdoors, afraid of groups or afraid of isolation or afraid of spiders, something like that. So it would describe a couple things that you would either experience physically, like sweating palms or accelerated heart rate, maybe a stutter or something like that. And so you, as the player, would respond to the situation.
With that ailment kind of thing, like you would
Yeah,
have a
and
stuff.
yeah, you could
Damn,
develop a couple ailments too while you're sort of playing if you
dude.
fail a whole bunch of rolls.
Yeah. That man, and okay, so that this sounds sick. I mean, like, how did this even? Okay, because we have. I know your job now. I mean,
Yeah,
did this come up and at your job, or when you were just? Did you have that kind of downtime where I don't need to
yeah,
find work right now, and you just said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna make a game."
yeah. Basically, I said I have time right now. I'm going to figure out what I want to do. So I spent almost a year, well, 6 months to a year of just basically writing every idea I had and just doing unemployment, not trying to work. I'm just trying to think.
Mm,
No pressure. I'm just doing that. And I spent around 2 years of actually trying to develop around three different ideas at once.
okay.
And that's what really sort of settled into what I call hero's journey through Phobos.
Mm,
And
here's
Phobos is the, I think, Greek word for fear, like phobia.
yeah. Let me take a
And
look.
so in my version of the game, the town is called Phobos. So, and then you play a hero that's their journey through Phobos. So the journey through fear, journey through that town. And you basically do a few rounds, and then a god of fear appears in the middle of the town, and you fight him. And if you beat that god of fear, you can go through his portal and either play again or take your characters to a Dungeons and Dragons campaign. And now you've sort of had an onboarding to playing a pen and paper role playing game. That's the
Mm,
ideal.
okay. All right. But that's just like it's crazy because it just sounds like it's a game within a game. Because I mean, like that
Yeah,
little intro does not sound like, oh, it's just a casual event of just beating
yeah,
a god of fear,
yeah,
just which I'll tell you folks. And a great segue, by the way. Like I had no idea where you were going, and I was like, oh, we're here. I was
yeah.
supposed to. I'm a terrible host. They'll tell you, but no.
No, I figured I'd just start talking about it since
You
pull the
killing it.
string. I love talking about Hero's Journey through Phobos.
I will say, like straight up, you have good podcasts, like Voice or Energy. Like you could easily like I don't know. You should potentially look into this. I think you do
Okay,
good.
yeah,
But we'll talk later after. But
yeah, okay.
so God of Fear, I was just
Mhm.
thinking of like because you have you done the spider one yet?
Yeah, and I'm trying to do ones basically that would have two fears per god.
Okay.
So I'm gonna try and have eight different fears, but four different sort of zones. And I
Okay.
haven't really narrowed it down to the 8 fears because I have a lot of different
And we talked
sort of
about
things to
this
sort
because
through. Yeah.
some of the fears are very like, how do you personify this? How do you like, how
Yeah.
can I make this look scary? Because so he showed
Well, I
me,
also need it playable for the
yeah,
player because I want
that
them to be able to actually. Because like I'm thinking like the fear of the outdoors or something like that, where if there was an open window in the house that you're playing in, you'd want to close the window or vice versa. So I
right.
want you to like interact with the real world when you're playing, but you're interacting as your character with these fears and phobias you're
Well,
developing.
well, because the main thing you mentioned about is that you want it to be an interactive game. You
Yeah,
want to call almost like it's a charades with
yeah,
style kind of thing.
exactly. Yeah,
So
charades.
it and the cool thing is all this like the fears and phobias idea. I did play a board game that had kind of like a crazy mechanic. Like the more you play the game, the crazier you would be to like the more ridiculous stuff your real
Yeah.
life person would be doing. But makes me think like if you really even need the whole Dungeons and Dragons aspect after that, because why not keep it more of a interactive charades game where maybe
Oh no,
like
yeah. Mine
so
would be. It's for a person that's never played Dungeons and Dragons. It might be jarring to take them from never playing anything similar to just going into Dungeons and Dragons.
yeah.
So if they've only played like Monopoly, it might be weird to all of a sudden say, "There's no board. All you do is roll this dice and tell me what you're thinking." You're like, wait, what's
Because
happening?
that is exactly what it is though.
So my game's a little bit of a transition. Like there's a few cards, it gives you some prompts. You have your character. Most you'll have is a character sheet and 6 items. So
Ooh,
that's
yeah.
really all you're interacting with, and then the card that gives you your situation. And then if you get any penalties, like developing a fear or phobia.
And then you said like the card holder, the 6 items, your inventory in a sense, you'll be able
Yeah,
to have like the cards you draw and you'd slide them in to the
yeah.
which I think is going to be a sick like prototype when I see the end
I'm
product though.
pretty proud of that, like how I got it, because basically you'll have a character sheet in the middle. You'll have the 3 cards on the right, 3 cards on the left,
Mm,
and the cards are pretty long. So half of the length of the card is hidden behind that middle character sheet,
mm,
so you wouldn't see it, and that's all the description of the card. So the other part of the card is like the image and some icons like, a sword or a heart or a shield
mm.
and a number. But when you pull it out, that'll describe what it actually does. So it should look pretty clean and pretty language free because I want it to be like tactile, intuitive.
You just want to
And
be kind of multifaceted. You want like
yeah,
people to get a lot of bang from the buck out of your game. You want it to be interactive, but
but I want it to
also
be intuitive just so you don't have to always go to the rule books and what does this mean? Because when it gets too complex for the rules,
yeah, that's when it's no longer fun.
yeah,
Now you're
yeah,
limiting my potential fun. And well,
yeah.
we were talking about so you have classes like what people would choose class wise, right? Like did you have those
Yeah.
mapped out?
Basic, yeah.
Well, hit me. What are they?
So one is the cook, and
It's my
then
favorite class. I was
yeah,
actually that's a segue because there was a segue into the cook. That was the
good,
that was all a lie.
good. We have a cook because I didn't want to do an archer, mage, warrior. Because when I'm thinking of Phobos, it's like a different dimension a little bit, and without
Hmm.
getting too much into the lore, you might want to consider it being in limbo or purgatory, where Phobos exists. It's not quite our reality.
It's just another realm of
Yeah,
yeah of being. It's just and rules don't maybe work so
yeah,
good as they do here. It's kind of okay.
exactly. Like why one round, what's to the north might not be the same thing that's to the north the next round. Same with what's to the east, west, or south. Because that's basically when you draw your cards, you put them in a direction, and
Right.
then for your turn, you investigate that direction and you go through those cards.
Which is will be really fun because that's how you can do like scenarios and maybe even have X amount of scenarios to where like it would be a separate deck of cards or something. So that way, like you're going through just different scenarios to get to eventually, which would the final piece would be one of the four fear gods. I think
Yeah,
that's okay.
and
Which
I think what I'm giving the characters, I'm giving each of them like an inspiration or like an aspiration. like their life goal. So it'll give them a direction they want to go and like tasks they should do
Well, how
during
would
the playthrough.
you assign? Is it just everyone has a specific one, or because you kind of made it customizable, where could maybe other
Yeah.
people make up their goal?
Well, I'm just gonna have like a random draw pile. So you'd have like, 20 goals or 10 goals, and you just draw one.
Mm,
And hey, looks like I should go and, go to the north 3 times, or one round. I should go to the north every single turn.
yeah.
That's one objective. Or hey, I should always go in the same direction as another player every single round,
Well, that's the kind of
or
fun
something
thing
like
because
that.
that's how it throws the monkey wrench in the system, and
Yeah.
like kind of like you have so many people trying to compete different goals, all while trying to battle this. And I cannot like stress that enough. Like
Mhm.
the you said it very specifically. The I'm gonna call it the gods of fear, but like
Yeah.
there was like the avatars or like the representations of like these just it's gross, dude. Like that's like yeah,
Yeah.
I was just thinking and humor this, but
Hmm.
I've been playing. Have you heard of we're talking about games and you've been playing
Yeah.
Helldivers. Have you ever heard
Yeah.
of a game called Grounded?
Yeah, I've heard of it, but I don't think I've played it.
It's essentially Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, the game.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Like you're teeny tiny in a backyard, and the backyard's like as big as Skyrim. It's just ginormous, and it's got a little Minecraft energy. Like you gotta build things. Like we build like houses out of grass and clay, and also fight giant bugs. And like when
Nice.
you fight a giant like spider the size of an Escalade, like that's not cool. Like that is not fun. Like it is terrifying being that up close to something with that has that many legs and that many eyes. I'm thinking a cool like avatar of arachnophobia could be like draw a bunch of those eyes just around the body, like those two
Yeah.
black dots with maybe like the pincers around it. I know you can make it ugly.
I'm thinking almost like spiders and teeth. That's almost like a
Yep,
good combo.
spiders, teeth, and eyes. Like I think because I don't know, dude. I don't know what those like dark. Because I mean, have you ever seen a camel spider?
Yeah,
Kill it
yeah,
with fire. But that's
yep,
disgusting. Like just the
huge.
dark. Ah,
Yeah,
God, ugh.
yeah.
I'm just
Ugh.
getting heebie-jeebies just thinking about it. Well, that's so cool, man. That like I mean, and I don't know. It's just like the compare and contrast. Like you're trying to make a game fun
Mhm.
for everybody, but also like fighting the gods of fear, dude. That sounds so metal.
Yeah.
Sounds so crow. Like it's the
Yeah, I'm
emo
trying
kid
not to
in
have
me
you
is
like
like
punch and kick fight it. That's why I'm not trying to have you be like, hey, a chef, what is he really going to do to God of Fear? Like, you can't hit it with an arrow. You gotta, so
he's going to make sure he feeds the team to give them the nutrition to inspire to kick the god of fear's ass. That's what
exactly, yeah.
eat this
So,
cheeseburger and gain superpowers. You know.
yeah, so that's where it's like you're trying to like, like have the person role play what their character would do. And hey, if you got fears or phobias, what I really like is if you develop a fear and then hey, the god of that fear shows up. So if you've had during your playthrough developed a fear of spiders and then the god of the fear of spiders shows up,
You're
you're
not
gonna have
having a
some
good
major
time.
disadvantages to roll.
Heck yeah. And I just think it's just so cool because I mean it's like it's definitely its own unique story. And I don't know, like weird that just kind of just been a people are into like the weird stuff. Like they're
Yeah,
I know people are I think it was either you or somebody else I saw that was doing like monsters or creatures like made of mental illnesses. Like there was one that was bipolar and it was like this twisted like double person,
oh
like
nice.
one set of legs, but and it just it's I don't know, it's nasty. Like people art is changing. People want like there is a market for people who want to be creative or want to really go out
Yeah,
there. Like I think you mentioned about Tim Burton and Batman. I
yeah.
full circle going back to Condorman. You didn't think we are going back to Condorman?
Condorman,
We're right
yeah.
back.
Back to
I don't know if
Disney.
you know. Speaking of Disney Vault, like Tim Burton made a Disney Channel movie, like for a TV, like a original movie about Hansel and Gretel that was so freaking weird that you don't know about the movie, do you? Like
I
the
don't think so.
yeah,
No.
no, fucking they Disney buried it. They're like, this is too fucking weird. Like we know, like it's it. I'll see if I can find it. But if you're mildly interested, like it's weird, man. It's
Yeah,
off the walls bonkers, but it was also so unique and its own thing that like I don't know, there's a market for it. So I think your
yeah.
game has when I told people about what it's about, people are like, dude, that sounds fucking badass. I'm like, yeah, dude, no idea. Like, yeah. Like
Like
actually,
you know Kevin Smith? You ever heard of him?
bro,
Director for Clerks and Mallrats and all that.
Dogma, Clerks,
Yeah, hey, I
that
love him,
yeah.
but some people are like, I don't know. So anyway, I saw him at
I'm
Helium
offended you
Comedy
asked,
Club.
but keep going.
I know, but he was saying like, hey, if you have, 10,000 people that, well, he said if you have 1,000 people that'll pay $100 a year to see you, because he was charging tickets. He's like,
Yeah.
that's $100,000. And
Mm,
I took that same concept of, hey, if I can just get 10,000 people to like my idea enough that I can make $10 a profit,
there it
that's 100
is.
grand. If I can do
Amen.
that every couple years, every 3, 5 years, that's pretty much, I think I'll be happy. I mean, anything
Just
extra beyond that's just,
tell the
gravy.
IRS. Like
Yeah.
just don't like because I can imagine. I don't work for them or anything, but I just
No,
can
no, but I could
imagine
imagine.
that like how much they'd fuck you if you just made that much money.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the whole reason I'm working at my job is just to be able to afford to fund this game. So if it gets funded, I mean, I hope to do a Kickstarter in, right around April of 25.
Okay.
So that's the goal. And then I'd, hopefully be getting it in people's hands a few months after it closed. And then what I'm going to do is wait a year after that and either do one of my expansions that I'm thinking about because I got a lot of different ideas that I'm trying not to add. But
Hmm.
hey, depending on if people like it, or if I get a lot of feedback of, hey, the rules or this isn't good, I'll just relaunch it with a update in a
Yeah.
year. So it's either an expansion or an up or just a revision in a year.
Well, and you know what sucks is like we barely touched on it, and I
Hmm.
think like as soon as it's ready to go, bro, you're coming on here. If anything, I think we
Yeah,
could probably
definitely.
even do another. That might be a Patreon exclusive where I call you back and we get into the lore about
Yeah,
Phobos.
the
So
lore is
the
definitely
the,
good.
the real nerds can be like,
Yeah.
oh, like, that's the juicy goodness. That
Yeah,
which is a
spend some
great.
time on that. So yeah, the people that are into like, okay, what does this all mean? Is there a structure to it? It's where all that studying of quantum mechanics, I tried to work it into the gameplay and actually make it mean something, not just have it be, oh yeah, just ignore that. That's a
Yeah,
thing you
oh
need to do to make the
yeah.
game work.
You heard it here, folks. If you're trying to do thing, if you want to do thing, quantum
Hmm.
mechanics, this is the cast for you. Like
Yeah,
dude, we make it happen for everybody. Like it's great.
exactly. Quantum mechanics, superposition, spooky movement
uh,
at a distance, all that.
exactly. Trying to think of something silly. Hookers in Spain. Yeah, I was trying to think comedy.
Here's
The funny
insane.
third thing. Yeah, we have it all in this cast. Well,
Yeah.
if people wanted to contact you, is there an email or a website or we're gonna post his art, people, if you want to know
Yeah.
more about this guy. But how can they contact you? If they wanted to.
So the easiest is Hero's Journey Through at Instagram. So that'll just be the main point of contact. I'm also setting up a website. There are two different websites. They're both connected. heroesjourneythrough.com and heroesjourneythroughphobos.com. This should be up and running around April of 2024.
Okay, well you heard it here, folks. I'm just a hero's journey, Phobos. I'm also adding right now, folks. So,
Mhm.
and hey, I'll make sure I'll put it in like the description link though. So I
Yeah,
got you, dog.
perfect.
Is that all one word? Hero's journey through Phobos.
Yeah, exactly. It's just one word
You
because
got it.
I do the acronym HJTP,
I love
but
that.
doing like a four-letter website, it costs way more for an address that short.
Bro, help me like make like a little design for my cast because like I like the way you did that, and I'm trying to. It same thing. It's you have to find like how can I market something that's like easily identifiable but also
Yeah,
crazy unique. I
yeah,
don't
and
know.
doing that's just not easy.
No, it well, I mean that's what we're talking about. That's why we work the job that we work is because we're trying
Yeah.
to pay for gigs and trying to pay for us to be creative. Which, by the
Hmm.
way, beautiful segue about all you $10 a ticket and 1,000 fans. Uh,
Yeah.
plug in my Patreon, guys. If you're interested in supporting the channel, you just click
Yeah.
there. If I just get
Extra
like,
bonus.
dude, like 50 people at $10, that's what is that? That's 500
Yeah.
money. Help a brother out. It's hard out here for a pimp. So
Yeah, they'll help with audio equipment and other people to help you out and
F&A, dude.
get
And plus
new.
we get to support
Yeah,
Israel, you know?
yeah,
Like we get to
exactly.
buy
Appreciate it, guys.
isn't that the whole point? We need to support Israel, you
Yeah,
know?
creative artists.
Free
How's other people going to create stuff if you can't
free
support
Gaza.
creative artists?
Free Gaza. Let's
Hey,
go.
hey, it's not my middle name. That's not my middle name.
It's not my middle name. Well,
First name's
man,
Israel, but yeah.
oh my God, this was I feel like we are kind of wrapping up. This was been sick, but
Yeah.
I have so much more we're going to talk about. But I'm thinking, how do we want to end this? Like, I
Um,
the game sounds sick.
till again.
I'm gonna be a cook for sure. I guess I
Yeah,
maybe I see you collect board games. I think that's what we'll
yeah,
end it on. What's
yeah.
like
Collect a lot of board games. Love Kickstarter for unique board games.
heck, so did this kind of like you creating the game kind of like come from other games too, or like did this have was this inspired by any other board games you played?
Yeah, it's inspired a little bit by Kingdom Death. Um,
Okay, and if you guys don't know about that, it's badass. Like that
yeah,
is
yeah, it's a
woo
high bar. Yeah, it's. I'm not trying to do as complicated as a game
or
of
grim
Kingdom Death.
dark.
Trying to really scale back the scope of what the game is. I want it to be able to be new player friendly, which
Yeah.
Kingdom Death is a hardcore gamer friendly, not
Oh, dude, and it's
my
so
friend that doesn't play
gross,
board games.
man.
Yeah,
Like it is. That's like
Baroque
the
horror. Yeah,
hardcore heroine of the Dungeons and
yeah,
Dragons like game, sir. It,
yeah.
if you're
I
mildly
wanted to avoid
curious,
that. I want
yeah,
mine to be able to be put into Target potentially, but I'm not going for that. I just don't want to intentionally offend people. I want mine to have like ones that make people with the phobias
hmm.
physically react to seeing or trying to touch the figures.
Well, I will say those figures in at least that game are. If anyone wants to have a fun Saturday,
Yeah,
just look up
Kingdom Death.
Kingdom Death miniatures. They're nasty. Like there are just some characters where I'm just like, that's just a giant skeleton made of hands. Like ew.
Yeah.
Like what the fuck?
So that guy Adam Poots, he started just creating miniature sculpts for
Hmm.
people to paint. And people
Okay.
were like, "Hey, these are really nice. You should make a board game around this." And then he saw different games he liked, and he made a version that he thought was missing from the market. But he
Okay.
really based it on his miniatures. So for him, people will buy his board game Kingdom Death just to paint the miniatures and never play. Because for how many miniatures you get for, $200 or whatever the game is,
It's
it's a
impressive.
lot of miniatures.
Yeah.
It's hard. I mean, it takes you a few months to paint them, and they're high quality. So
Okay.
that's what I'm also thinking. There's one of the things I'm thinking about trying to work in is if I get enough of the stretch goals for the Kickstarter, I'm
Hmm.
gonna toss in what was it, a chessboard. And so
Ooh.
basically the figures I'd be giving out, I would make sure there's enough figures to have like 8 pawns for each side.
You would
And
actually okay,
so
what would the I mean it's too far away, but like what do you think
yeah,
the actual pieces would be made out of?
I'm not quite sure. I'm probably some plastic injection, PVC
Oh
type thing.
man,
I'm not
if you
exactly
can have
sure.
like a stupid expensive amount for like marble or just I want to see like a really like medieval looking ass chess set of like those
Oh yeah.
gross monster. Oh God, dude,
Well, like the 3D printing, they have them so they look like stone. Like the
mm,
filament comes out and prints it so it looks like marble and stone. So
okay.
yeah, you can definitely
Oh,
3D print them all up nice.
dude, there you go. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? As soon as you get that
Hmm.
like Kickstarter happening, we're gonna post it here.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna add a little applause sound
Okay.
effect here.
All right. Thank
Love
you,
having
everyone.
you
Thank
on
you.
here.
Thank you.
But hey, just yeah, man. If anything, I will. What's like a goodbye in
A B design?
a hero's journey through Phobos? Do they have like a saying or anything, or just like fear on? I don't know.
No, there's a lot of stuff for evil stuff having to do with the one. Free the one, protect the one, something. So
Like
no, I'm not
what would
sure.
us as heroes say if I'm like, hey, until next time, or like, hey, I'll see you on the other side. Don't get killed. Fuck the one. I don't know what.
Um, well, it's a lot of it's you're trying to defend other souls on their journey through Phobos. So maybe just be kind to fellow souls on this journey you're on.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Be kind to the souls
Fellow
on the
souls,
journey, the
yeah.
fellow souls on the journey you're on. Well,
Yeah.
guys, I've been Tristan. This has been Israel, and this is another ordinary person with an extraordinary story. Thank you, and peace be with you. Peace be with your soul. I don't know. That's yeah. That click
Yeah.
done.
Peaceful guide.
Boom. There you go. And thank you for listening to another episode of Ordinary People, Extraordinary Stories. If you're interested in helping the channel, feel free to click on the link below to get access to our Patreon, where we have exclusive episodes and clips not shown to the public. And of course, if you believe you yourself have an interesting story to tell, or know somebody who would be great for the show, feel free to email me back at OPESpodcast@gmail.com. That's OPES. That's the acronym for the show, Ordinary People, Extraordinary Stories, OPES, podcast@gmail.com. Thank you, everybody, and until next time.